Fascist dictators always use foreign wars to justify domestic crackdowns. Now, let me tell you what we should expect here in the United States as Donald Trump wages his illegal war in Iran. Now, first of all, the war is spreading. The State Department, Marco Rubio, has told Americans to leave the Middle East, like all of the Middle East, not just Iran, not just Israel, but everywhere. We are seeing American embassies being attacked, not just by Iran's military with drones and missiles. We're also seeing protests breaking out in places like Pakistan. So there's been a lot of diplomatic staff that has been told to evacuate, to leave the embassies. And you know how MAGA loves to talk about Benghazi in Libya, right? Well, that's happening all over the place right now. Now, thankfully, we haven't had an embassy actually fall, but they're being attacked. And whereas in the case of Benghazi, it was basically just like a terrorist group and an angry mob, this situation's complicated by the fact that there's an actual military with missiles and drones also attacking these embassies. Over the weekend in Austin, we saw a mass shooting, and the first evidence out there makes it look like this could have been inspired by what's going on in Iran. Now, part of the reason that there is this beef between the United States and Iran, and I'm just talking about a small part, is that Iran is really good at recruiting, training, and empowering these proxy groups, these proxy like militias and terrorist organizations. Now, we know that Iran has succeeded in getting into the US, and they've had kill squads try to go after journalists, Iranian journalists. And this is not happening like in the middle of nowhere. There were attacks planned in New York City that thankfully the FBI became aware of and started prosecuting. And with this attack in Austin, Donald Trump is gaining some political cover for further ICE crackdowns, at least as far as Republicans are concerned. The United States has a really fucking ugly history with going after people who are from or descended of a foreign country, right? Think about these Japanese internment camps that were in the United States during World War II. And just listen to the language that Trump and Hegseth, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and all the rest, listen to the language that they're using, because it's going to be echoing. It should remind you of the Bush era, of the you're either with the terrorists or with us. And that's not just about forcing other countries to choose a side. We're going to see this turned inwards. We're going to see it domestically. And by combining this idea of this attack in Austin that could have been inspired by what's happening in Iran, which could be an act of international terrorism, it could be that. That's going to make the storyline that ICE is defending the United States from a foreign threat a lot more convincing to people who perhaps haven't been paying attention. And that narrative, the narrative is where the power lies. And Donald Trump has been really good at driving the narrative. Even when it's incoherent, his supporters still hear him. And he gets the political cover, if not from Republicans in Congress, Republican governors and Republican legislatures around the country, to erode civil rights. So the Trump administration and their allies are going to become much more persistent in deeming any act of protest as sympathizing with terrorists, with a foreign threat. And while they're not anywhere close to convincing a majority of Americans that ICE is a good thing, or that they're acting in accordance with the Constitution or in the best interests of the American people, because of the fact that American service members are getting killed in the line of duty right now because of the war that Trump started on Iran, the Trump administration is going to try to start blurring domestic criticism against ICE with criticism of the American military mission in Iran. So Trump is going to try to frame any criticism of ICE as unpatriotic. And again, while that's not going to convince everybody, it's going to convince enough of our population that it's a problem for all of us. But look, we should not be intimidated. We should not stand down. In fact, this Friday, I'm going to Minnesota. I'm going to be hosting a free memorial concert, a tribute concert for Alex Preddy and Renee Nicole Good. The Dropkick Murphys are going to be headlining the show. We're doing fundraising using Veterans Fighting Fascism, my nonprofit, to collect tax-deductible donations for the people of Minnesota, for organizations that have been providing direct services to the impacted communities, whether that's immigrants who've been unlawfully detained or Americans who've been unlawfully detained. There's a group of teachers that are going to their students' homes to feed them because they and their families have been too scared to leave their homes since November, we're talking about a few months now. And we're going to be supporting local businesses that have had their staff afraid to come to work, that because of the ICE occupation, their customers have been afraid to come and spend money there. There are a lot of business owners, small business owners in Minnesota who have been suffering. So look, if you can make it to Minneapolis, I would love to see you at this free concert. If traveling to Minneapolis is not an option for you, please tune in live. You can watch the whole thing. It's going to be live streamed by the Valor Media Network. So to watch the show, to donate, go to abolish.ice.live. Just remember, a fascist dictator always loves a two-front war. One foreign, one domestic. We need to let MAGA know that we see the pattern. We're not falling for this. So make yourself heard, support your neighbors, and help us uplift the people of Minnesota who've been on the front lines of Donald Trump's domestic war for months now. And you can support them by going to abolish.ice.live. Either come to the show on Friday if you can make it to Minneapolis, or tune in and watch it. It starts at 1 p.m. Central this Friday, March 6th. That's abolish.ice.live.